Hi everybody, we're going to go over a few lab safety rules today, and I'm going to need you to have a writing utensil of some kind. If you have highlighters or markers that you could use as a highlighter, that would be wonderful. If not, you can just use your pencil and that will work too. We're going to start by highlighting the first rule here under general, and it says conduct yourself in a responsible manner at all times in the laboratory. This is one we really stress because it's just pretty much common sense. If you do as you're asked, when you're asked, nothing is going to potentially happen in the lab. This is also good to equate back to those PBIS lessons you've talked about. You're going to be a bear. Remember that you are going to be respectful, give effort, be accountable, and always take responsibility. Your actions will denote your outcomes, and this is a good one to remember. We're going to skip down to number 4. We're not going to highlight this whole one. We're just going to highlight a portion. We're going to highlight, do not touch any equipment. And you're going to make a side note that says, do not touch until told. Sometimes when you come into a lab, you're going to see stuff on your tables, especially now that we have to make sure we're socially distant. Things are going to be out and ready for you. Do not touch them until your instructor tells you to. Because first off, you don't know what they are. And second, you could potentially contaminate the experiment, and then we'll have to waste time and reset it and do all of those things. We're going to go down to number 5, and we're going to highlight the second sentence there. Do not use laboratory glassware as containers for food or beverage. First off, I want to say, duh. Don't use a beaker out of a cabinet to drink some water out of the fountain. That beaker has been used by countless students for countless years, and it's gross. Second, we also should just not have food in the lab when we are performing lab experiments, because you could contaminate your experiment, you could contaminate your food, and some of the chemicals and things we will use this year are potentially harmful, and we don't want anything like that to happen. So it's a definite no-go for food on lab days. We're going to skip to number 8. We're going to skip to number 8. Never fool around in the laboratory. Horseplay, practical jokes, and pranks are dangerous and prohibited. This goes back to number 1. You need to conduct yourself in a respectful manner at all times. Guys, thinking it's funny and pulling a chair out so that your friend misses the chair not only could hurt them physically, but could also have them bump the table and spill chemicals that could then hurt them more, or you, or splash into someone's eye, and we don't want that. Throwing things, pencils, paper, regardless of what it is, can hit someone else or hit a lab material, and once again, break it, spill it, splash it, all of those things. So we will not be acting like fools in the classroom. We're going to skip over to number 15, and we're going to talk about 15 and 16 kind of together. So 15, labels and equipment instructions must be read carefully before use. Your lab instructor is going to give you clear and listed instructions every time you're going to do a lab. You will also almost always, if not always, be given some kind of lab procedure that then tells you all those rules your instructor told you verbally again on paper. So it is very, very important for you to listen to what your instructor is saying before you touch or do anything, so that you do it in the right order and your results are valid. Because once again, we are not here to waste time. and have to redo things, we want to get it right the first time. So my annotation for this one is going to be listen to directions. And then we're going to skip down to 16. A direction you're always going to have in a lab, even if it is not said or written on the procedure, is to keep hands away from face, eyes, mouth, and your skin. So don't rub your arms or your shoulders or any of those things when you're working in a lab. Because like I said, some of the chemicals we're going to use can be either irritating to you if they come in contact with those surfaces on your body, or potentially harmful to you when they come in contact with you. You shouldn't, theoretically, be touching your face, eyes, or mouth at all, because we have COVID and your mask, and that is the number one way to keep you from getting it, is to not touch your face. So the general rule of thumb, lab or not, is to not touch your face. Also, if you need to touch your face to adjust your mask or to scratch your eyeball or any of those things you may feel the need to do, you need to wash or sanitize your hands first. In a lab setting, washing your hands is going to be the preferred mode of cleaning your hands. All of the science rooms in the building have sinks, and they are available for you to wash your hands in. You need to follow your teacher's classroom expectations for that, but washing hands when you are handling chemicals is the way to get them off of your hands. We're going to skip to number 23. This is about clothing. Now, there's a lot of stuff about lab aprons and all of those things. Depending on the course you're taking, those things will come into play. The one I'm going to highlight here is the first one, and we're going to highlight the whole thing. Anytime chemical, heat, or glassware are used, students will wear laboratory goggles. There will be no exceptions to this rule. Your goggles, if you are told to wear them, need to stay on your face, not on your head, not hanging off your nose, not on your table, on your face at all times until you and your immediate area are completely cleaned up and your instructor has told you you may take them off and put them in the sanitizing cabinet. At no time should you take your goggles off of your face in the middle of an experiment. First, I just told you you can't touch your face if you are in the middle of an experiment, because you could have contaminants on your hands and they could irritate the different surfaces of your face. And second, you should never take your goggles off of your face. They stay on your face. So, since I've said it about 30 times now, we're going to go ahead and write that as an annotation right here on the side. We're going to write goggles stay on your face. Goggles stay on your face. When you get done with that annotation, we're going to skip down to 27. You're going to highlight that whole section. And remember, if you don't have a highlighter, you can circle, underline, or star the area also. All of those things work. This is important because sometimes if something happens, you may think that I'm going to get mad at you, your instructor is going to get mad at you because you were horsing around. If you weren't horsing around and something happens, oh well, things happen. And if you are horsing around and something happens, I told you not to horse around, but again, things happen. But I need to be able to handle them in the safest way possible. So if there's any spillage, breaking of glassware, possible cuts or burns, you need to tell me immediately. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm going to handle the situation. I may give you the "I told you so" look about horsing around, but I will not ever be upset with you if you come to me for help. You always have to tell me if you break glass. It is my job to clean it up, not yours. For the off chance that someone got cut by it while cleaning it up, it's me that gets cut and not you. If you break something and you do get cut, you need to tell me immediately, and I'll send you to the nurse and have them make sure and clean it out really good. And then they'll send you back and we can finish up what we're doing. So always tell your instructor if something is broken or spills so that it can be cleaned up in the most safe possible way. So we're going to add the annotation, "Tell your teacher," to number 27. We're going to jump to 31. This is going to be the last section on the front page here. You're going to highlight the second sentence. Do not touch, taste, smell any chemicals unless specifically told to do so. If you are in a lab, I've already told you, you are not going to eat or drink during a lab day because it could get contaminated. If you can't eat or drink regular food and drinks, you should not be drinking or eating lab materials. And how do we smell something in a classroom? You all yelled "waft." That is correct. You would hold the substance out in front of you and you would wave your hand over it, gently wafting the smell towards your nose. You do not stick your nose in a beaker or any other glassware, because if you inhale it and it is irritating or harmful, those particles will then flood your nostrils and then you could possibly be hurt by that. You will also have your mask on while we're doing all of these things. So you shouldn't be able to stick your nose in any of the chemicals. We're going to jump to the second page now. Sorry guys, bear with me. Learning how to film here. We're going to jump to number 41. And we're going to highlight that first sentence. Never handle broken glass with your bare hands. You will never handle broken glass at all, because we just talked about that if anything breaks or spills, you will be telling me and I will be cleaning it up, or you will tell your instructor and they will clean it up. So our annotation for this one is "teacher will clean up broken glass." You don't have to worry about putting on gloves or any of those things because the teacher will be cleaning up any broken glass. The rest of these don't particularly pertain to most of our lower level science classes. Heating substances are going to be in those upper level science classes where you are actually manipulating chemicals and doing things like that in chemistry, or in ABS when you are flaming different tools so that they are sterile for transfers. But your teachers will tell you how to do that specifically. I need you to go ahead and, through Cami, answer these questions. You're going to print your name and you're going to sign your name and you're going to date when you did this. There is a parent or guardian section. If you are a distance learner at this time and your parent is handy, they could go ahead and sign and date this too. If not, that's not a big deal because all of this will be posted on our Canvas and your parents can read it there. Thank you for going through this with me, guys.